What's up, dudes? Welcome back to another episode of Rhomas Men's Team. Pretty simple. We are a group of guys helping each other make progress towards each other's goals. If you're new to the channel, awesome and welcome. If you want to help support the channel and join our pro team, head over to rhomasteam.com/pro, where you can contribute to us on a donation basis. We also give you access to exclusive content, mastermind groups, etc., etc. So anyway, hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the team.
Mr. Ray, what's up, brother?
Wes, I'm building a bit of a sweat. I've been on my mom's stationary bike for about, let's say, 30 seconds. And I'm just, my life is full of chaos. Some thrust on me, some of my own creation. Some of it feels bad, some feels good. But that the one thing that I can credit for any of my success is my program, right? And that includes the spiritual, the diets, the connection with my brothers, and the fitness, like the body, right? And it's not just looking good. It's linked to mental health. It's linked to longevity. It's linked to how I digest food. So I am trying to get a bit of exercise in, living my best life.
Yeah, boy.
I'm committing to being on this bike for the full hour. I don't know if my feet will be moving the whole time, but so why did you post a picture of Arnold on the call to prayer today?
Yeah, well, so I just invited a couple guys up to chat about it. So
Kaizen's getting his car worked on. I'm sure he can drop to the floor and do 25 push-ups.
That's right.
Around the dust and oil and gum that's on the floor.
So exactly. So I put it on the Discord today, or as the main picture of the chat today, because Arnold Schwarzenegger's documentary came out on Netflix.
On Netflix, the 4-part series.
Yeah.
I loved it, dude.
Oh, you watched the whole thing?
I loved it. Yeah. Sarah turned it on. Sarah wanted to watch it because she loves a good Republican docuseries, like the one about Mitt Romney. Did you see that a couple of years ago?
I did not.
It really humanized the guy. And so, I loved it. Have you seen it? So did you watch the Schwarzenegger?
I watched the first episode, and I thought it was outstanding. I was a huge fan of Arnold growing up. Motivated me to go to the gym. But just knowing, even if you're not into bodybuilding, where he came from and where he is now is just it's hard to even imagine the distance that was traveled.
It's like the most unlikely, impossible, long shot, moonshot.
Yep.
And sure, he's white and European and blessed with good genes and stuff, but so were half the people in his small town in Austria,
Right.
And so what's the difference then? So let's set aside the white privilege. Let's set aside the growing up on the free side of the Iron Curtain rather than those of our brothers imprisoned, in the Eastern Bloc under the kind of boot of communism. What do you credit? Set aside all the kind of usual, he's good looking, he's fit, he's what do you credit with his success?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing was, and I don't want to ruin too much for the guys in case they want to watch it.
Then why did it resonate with you?
Yeah, I can definitely speak to some broad pieces just in case anybody is interested in watching it. The first one was he grew up with a father who straddled the line between being strict and just being abusive, it's that
they never showed him in a Nazi uniform, but if you look at the calendar, it's very likely that he was a Nazi.
Yeah, I mean, it's
and they're not and some of them were jerks.
Yeah, and they didn't spend too much time. Again, I've only watched the first episode and probably 10 minutes of the second one. So they started to drip some of that sub narrative out, and unfortunately, Arnold's brother passed away from a car accident. And Arnold was like, he believes that it was from his father's, sort of like iron fist that he held in the household. Mm-hmm. So which I think is a common narrative. So, you got a poor family raising a child or children, and there's more primitive tactics used for their discipline. And then it kind of depends on how that child growing up, what meaning he or she gives to it. If it's okay, got to be super disciplined, but also got to get the fuck out at some point. Do you know what I mean? Like it seems like that's the sort of commentary. And I could certainly relate to it. But in the wrong mind, it can go the opposite way.
That you're unlovable, that there's no good in the world, that you just have to take, right? Yeah.
So the funny thing is, I still think that is the common ground. It's the actions, because if you listen to what Arnold said in one of his little, like the little montage videos that's showing him training and everything, he said the funny thing is that I always portrayed out there to the world this super charismatic, confident guy, and who was obviously number one. He's like, but what people didn't know is that I was telling myself the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I look like shit. I'm not going to win this thing. And basically, I'm not good enough.
And I'm an outsider, and like everyone else is going to find out. So he's programmed with the same voices that we all have.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, exactly. And I think growing up in a household where and especially if there's like drinking involved, where there's Jordan, what's up, brother?
What's up, guys?
Did you see the Arnold documentary?
I did not.
Okay, so you might really like it, given your background in fitness. So anyway, so it seems like it's a common theme of if you grew up in a really strict household, especially if there's alcohol present, so you couldn't really figure out the game because the game changed quite frequently depending on how many ounces of alcohol the parent had. That I'm not good enough and I almost can't win the game. I'm not good enough because the game is unwinnable because the game changes so many times. So you're in this constant state.
To quote Lucas from last week, the goalposts keep shifting.
Yeah. And I think that's a common element. So I don't know, what do you guys think?
Well, 100%, but I didn't grow up in a strict household with alcohol. I grew up in a chaotic household with alcohol. So, but the same result obtained, right? Where it's like dad was the life of the party one night, depending on how things went at work. And then dad was psycho and would take the food off the table and throw it all in the garbage and be like, you kids are ungrateful. Like literally. And I remember one time he took money and he kind of tore it up and threw it in the garbage. Like $100 back in the 80s. Seemed like a lot.
You're like 8 years old, like, all right.
Yeah. But again, yeah, because, and so like, okay, these are the goalposts tonight. Right. And, So yeah, alcohol, chaotic, not alcohol strict, but like some days it was strict, some days it wasn't, right? And so and again, the goalposts kept shifting, right? And so and that created a kind of familiarity with uncertainty in me, where I'm really good at navigating uncertainty, but then I also kind of create chaos when I'm in a stable situation because the uncertainty is my kind of natural habitat that I associate with home. Go ahead, Jordan.
I guess, can you phrase the question, one more time for me?
Yeah, so basically just to give you a little background, because I know you just hopped on. So both Ray and I watched at least a portion of the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary on Netflix. I think it's outstanding, regardless of whether or not you like bodybuilding or you like him even. Just showing the distance that he traveled to get to where he is today. But one of the themes of the documentary is he talks about his father and how basically his mother, crazy strict, but then his dad drank alcohol. So it added a bit of chaos to the house. So usually a bad combination. Then Ray and I were talking about, it's really hard to run a household or live in a household as a child where the goalposts keep on moving. So it's like you do one thing one day, you get rewarded for it. You do that same thing the next day, and you get punished for it. So just your comments on that. I guess, your childhood growing up, could you relate to that at all?
Yeah. So I had a single mom who she didn't drink or do anything. Like she drank once when she was 18, as she said she hated it. So I wasn't exposed to alcohol in that way. But then I also grew up in a poor area where we all started drinking at like 12 because that's just what you do in small towns. But I would say my home life was similarly. Goalposts would move around quite a bit. I mean, I think my mom was, she was trying her best. And I don't know if she always recognized what she was doing. I think she did a good job for the circumstances she was put in. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of, I didn't really know exactly what I was supposed to be doing when I was younger. And some of that probably came from her. Some of that came from other things that happened as a child or whatever. But I mean, yeah, I can kind of relate to a little chaos in the household. Also, she ran a home daycare out of our house. So that was very chaotic. Yeah.
Jordan,
if Ray has a heart attack during this episode, just know that he's on his mom's bike.
He's killing it. I love that you're fucking pedaling right now, man. That's awesome.
And dude, it's preppy summer. It's preppy summer 2023, so I'm like, my khakis.
Yeah, if you're curious if you can ride a stationary bike in driving moccasins, you now know the answer.
And look fucking fire doing it. But yeah, Jordan, was health and fitness a priority growing up in your household?
Not even a little bit. No.
Yeah.
No.
So that's something you had to like. That's something you like. Okay, so tell me about that.
So yeah, I actually thought about that a lot with obviously doing what I do now, and you should get a basket for your bike. So obviously my mom was busy trying to make money and raise 5 kids, so health and wellness wasn't exactly a focus. And in North Iowa, you eat hearty meals. Lots of very heavy meals were had. So I mean, it's not any surprise that I started to gain weight, especially as I stopped moving around more and just kind of started drinking with my friends and stuff as I got older. I went into football and basketball actually in middle school, but I was never pushed into it. My dad, he was in his 70s, I guess, by the time that happened. But he was never a sports guy. So he didn't give a shit whether I was in sports or not. And he wasn't going to come to any games or anything. And my mom was always working too late to come to games. So it was like, well, I don't have anyone coming to cheer me on or push me into doing it. So why would I do this? And so when high school hit, I just said, well, whatever, I can go get drunk on the weekends instead and not worry about sports or whatever. So yeah, there was zero focus on health, wellness, exercising, any of that stuff. So yeah, it took me a long time to figure out how important it was, but I finally figured it out around 28.
So did anyone in your life have a program, the way we talk about having a program?
Did anyone? No, not really.
Yeah, same.
Oh.
Go ahead, Wes.
Did I miss something? So you have 4 siblings?
I have 4 older brothers, yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. I don't know how I've known you for so long and didn't know that. And your mother raised all 4 of you on her own?
All 5 of us, yeah.
Oh, sorry, all 5, yeah.
And so...
Yeah, you don't read one of 5 kids, man. Like, you have a way more kind of like monkish energy than that, dude. Are you baby?
Yeah. I'm the
youngest. So maybe that explains it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And like, to be fair, my 2 oldest brothers, they have a dad. The next 2, they have a dad, and then I have my dad. All the same mom, though. And so my mom, obviously, I have a jaded...
That doesn't reduce the chaos, just FYI.
Yes.
That does not reduce the chaos.
No, not.
But you're just giving us all the texture.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not funny. It's interesting though that my dad is obviously by far the oldest of all 3 of those dads, and he is the only one who's still alive. The first one died from things, and the next one died from things, and yeah. So I'm technically the only one with a dad left, and I'm the youngest one by a lot. My oldest brother is like 55, my oldest brother's 55.
Man. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so much to unpack there. And that you and I share a common thread of that narrative. But if you look at the data of fatherless households, basically, I mean, it is some of the most abysmal data. It's unbelievably abysmal.
Hey dudes, sorry for the interruption here. Just wanted to let you know, if you want to join our pro team, go to romasteam.com/pro. You can help support the channel. You will also get access to exclusive content, masterminds, one-on-one sessions, etc. All right, back to the episode.
And honestly, that's one of the reasons that we have this team, is to talk about that. Now, to be fair, I don't want to assume that your father, your brother's fathers, my father, that it was all just men being immature, not willing to adopt responsibility. I have a funny feeling that represents the largest part of the pie.
And that occurs in fathered households too, bro.
Oh, totally. So I also could imagine that there are situations where the female in the household caused way too much chaos, to where some fathers like, I just can't take this amount of chaos. Like, I have to leave. So I just want to give credit to both sides, right? Like, both sides, I'm sure, have their downsides. But as a men's team, I think it's one thing to discuss, like, well, what is within our control as men, so that when we are put in those situations where we have volunteered, either explicitly or implicitly, to have responsibility, how can we not abandon that responsibility? And I think it gets back to one of the things that we just talked about. So moving the goalposts, as crazy as it sounds, how many times do we as humans tell other humans, hey, this is what the goal is. Like, this is how to make me happy, right? Here's what would make me satisfied. And then our partner or our business partner or our colleagues at work or our friends do that thing. And then just because wherever the emotional winds are, exactly, right? And wherever the emotional winds blow us the next day, it's like, well, I'm still not happy, and you're the reason for it. So Ray, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, dude, like, I quit drinking, right, and drugging a number of years ago. And my wife and I just had a very honest conversation where she doesn't like the person I've become. She doesn't like the aggression. She doesn't like the booming voice. And some of that's valid, but like some of that is like, well, I'm not about to start drinking and drugging again, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't become a perfect person when I pursued a healthy lifestyle, a healthy life free of drugs and alcohol. I just took one negative off the ledger. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Do you know what I mean? So like,
yeah, just because you threw away the credit card does not mean you're a millionaire, sort of thing.
Exactly. So but it's kind of a paradox, right? Because I did the thing that'll save my life, but it didn't make me perfect, right? Or
yeah, in fact, that alcohol may have been covering up some other,
it was absolutely yeah. An imperfect medication, right? So I had a long conversation, hour-long conversation with my buddies who's going through a hell of a divorce. And it's like, he married a super hot chick, blonde, tall, beautiful. And he works on Wall Street rather. Hundreds of thousands or maybe $1 million a year. I don't know what he makes. 3 beautiful children in private school, summers in the Hamptons. And like, she thought she wanted that, right? But she was that same tall, beautiful girl that all the guys were staring at the bar inside. Mm-hmm. And so when she became the trophy mom with the minivan and 3 kids, that life she signed up for, she decided 12 years in she didn't want it anymore, right? Mm. And so that's an example of like the thing that we're told to do or that we want isn't always the thing that's going to bring us like either happiness, fulfillment, enlightenment, or solve the problem.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Like, maybe I think about Jordan and fitness. Like, Jordan, all he did was lose 100 pounds. Like, he didn't get rich. He didn't become the world's second best Shakespeare scholar. Right? All he did was lose 100 pounds. And like, the challenges are still monumental, right?
100%.
But would you put those pounds back on?
Fuck no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I wonder what the deeper, like the deeper theme here is. Like, you know, how much, so for the goalpost part and for this tall blonde that you're referring to, it's okay, we can only articulate our desires to a level of specificity that our brain allows us to.
Yeah.
But then being willing to not leaning on other people, in my opinion, for our happiness.
Yeah.
And if I tell you, Ray, hey, here's how to interact with me, and then you interact with me in that way, and if I don't like it, or if like, that's not on you, that's homework that I have to do.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of interactions that we have as men where it's almost implied, it's like, well, that's not good enough. Do better, do better, do better. And then all of a sudden your relationships turn into chaos. What do you think? What do you guys think about that pattern?
Well, I think that like what comes to mind for me is that like, and we are not spiritual giants in this group. We're just a bunch of men helping a bunch of men and receiving helping kind. But I think like some of us just view this as we are on a journey, right? Matt Mcauliffe calls it like we're warriors on a cosmic journey or something. And so my sobriety and Jordan's health and fitness are just part of the journey, right? They're not the top of the mountain. They're not the promised land. They're not success. And so like in a way, you don't get to be happy, you know, like you don't get, you're just on the journey, and it's not a bad thing. That's a fucking awesome thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, I agree with all that 100%, because I had this idea in my head that when I lost 100 pounds, that I was going to look a certain way right when I lost 100 pounds.
Oh yeah, Tom Cruise.
Right.
All of a sudden, you turn into like a Brazilian,
right.
Tall, like, dark, handsome. Yeah.
You know, if I lose 100 pounds, obviously I'm going to have a six pack. Like, there's no, why wouldn't I? You know, like,
and
I thought all my problems were going to go away. Like, and it turns out once I had hit 100 pounds down, none of that was true. And I was like, oh shit, well, I don't know what to do now. Like, I thought this was like what I wanted, but it gave me like clarity on goal setting and like actually doing something.
Yeah.
And what I've been trying to focus on lately, or like the last year and a half-ish, and honestly, kind of since I started this group, keeping momentum, whether every day I'm doing something with my brain or not, like as long as I'm moving forward in some way, which honestly ends up being running some days. If I'm just moving forward and I'm running, I'm doing something that's taking me closer to a goal of some sort. And there is a goal in mind that I want to look a certain way at some point. I have goals for my body to be able to do whatever I want it to do, and it can't right now. But then I want that momentum to trickle into other areas. So like when I'm looking at my finances, I'm trying to bring that momentum from my fitness and bring it into like my financial life, and just know that if I just get started on something, I can make progress. But I'm just scared of getting started on certain things in my life. But having that momentum being built up constantly helps me just move forward. So as long as I'm moving forward, even incrementally, I'm not getting too tripped over it, because I know that all this shit is like, it takes so much time. And I feel like behind in the pack because it took me so long to figure some of these things out. But also I'm like, you know what, there's not a real timeline on any of us. Like, we all figure our things out when we figure them out, and it's better now than when I'm 50. So I'm just like, whatever, I'm going to do what I can, and I'm going to keep my momentum going at all times, because if I stop momentum, then I get fat again. I go back to drinking every day. I go back to all those unhealthy things that I used to do.
Self-hatred.
Yeah, I don't want, I mean, that kind of sneaks in anyway, but you know.
Well, you have one less reason to hate yourself if you're looking.
That is true.
And look, man, like did losing 100 pounds solve your love life, solve your finances life, solve your, you know, what your life? No. But what did it do? It showed you that like you can take on a huge structural problem and attack it and overcome it no matter how long it takes, right? And so Are you going to overcome your financial challenges? I don't know. Are you going to overcome your romantic challenges? I don't know. But you sure as shit overcame your like obesity challenge. Sure as shit did that.
Yeah.
Right, Wes?
Yeah. Well, I think the one thing here is that we all expect our problems to go away if we solve this one particular thing. Yeah. We reach this milestone, we get this, trophy, et cetera. Yeah. I don't think those problems go away. I do think, though, what changes is you bring a different human now to the table.
Yeah.
And speaking of toxic masculine dominance, tyranny, let's have MFG comment on this if possible.
As the absolute fucking Greek statue of the patriarchy. Go, King.
I wasn't listening.
Oh,
of course you weren't.
Of course you were. Yeah, that's what you would say.
You need to shut up and listen. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I find that you got to just pick bigger problems and keep. You know what I mean?
I like that.
But also, yeah, because otherwise, it's like life is better with resistance. You don't have any resistance. I mean, because to what your point, right? You think, oh, well, once I quit drinking, then all my problems go away. It's like, no, you were more of an asshole than just the booze.
Well, but congratulations, you're one less problem of an asshole.
Right. But
But that's all you get, really.
One of these days, I got to get my mother on this podcast, guys, because she's crazier than I am. But she's got 3 years sober now, and
awesome.
Become one of my best friends. And
that's a lot of clean time, man.
Yeah. And I was the other day, and I was talking to her, and I was like, you ever think about like, I'm still this fucked up, and I don't even drink anymore.
Yeah. I would love to be in the conversations with you and your mom.
And she's like, get the fuck out of the car. Get the fuck out of the car.
Oh, she's wild, dude. She's out of her mind. She curses more than I do.
I was thinking MFG. I have a similar dynamic with my mom where like, for whatever reason, because I don't drink, because she's divorced from my dad and has able to secure a modest life that she's in control of, that she has like that is hers, and isn't a prisoner of somebody else. Like it's the first time that we can actually have our version of what you're talking about, right? Without all the fucking jungle fucking dynamics that were there growing up.
An interesting thing, Ray, is that even for me at 38, because my mother was like she was an alcoholic for years, but functional at that, you know what I mean? But it was more insidious as far as how it affected other parts of her life,
Of course.
But that being said, in the last couple of years, since she's really continued to grow spiritually and being able to have these conversations and connections, it's amazing how many other issues have fallen away that I didn't actively pursue getting rid of. I had no idea how much hang-ups I had attached to my mom, apparently. You know what I mean? Like, it was never anything that was on my radar. But it's interesting when you take the time and you just kind of stay curious as you're looking. It's never just the once I lose 100 pounds or the once I quit drinking.
Doing cocaine, $500 a day.
Oh my God, I'd love to have a $500 a day habit. That'd be so much fun. Come on,
it's fun for a while.
Let's go sell some art. Let's get a punch up low,
huh? Dude, it's fun for the first couple of years, but then
$500 a day habit. Nickel a day ain't bad, kid. That's pretty good.
But Ray's problems are hard to relate to. It's like, hey, you guys, how itchy is this cashmere?
I had to sell my helicopter, okay? I had to sell it.
It's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's wild out there, bro.
But what I'll say is when you operate from the mentality of once I, then I'll, and insert whatever, then you're operating. You're not being present. You're operating from the deferred life plan, which is not a way to actively live your life. That's a way to it can be useful with goal setting to a degree. You know what I mean? But
no, there's a healthy way to do it and an unhealthy way to do it.
Right, because if you're always, living your life seeking out this next thing that's going to be your savior, your solution, you're going to die 1,000 deaths. You're going to be pretty fucking disappointed.
If I blank, then I'll be happy. Like that one, you never get the if.
No.
You never get the if.
No, and it's been interesting the last few months since I've been living in the van. There's just a lot of things that are completely outside of my control, and that I used to freak the fuck out over that kind of stuff, but learning to have to accept it, and then also realizing that, oh, okay, I don't need all that I thought I needed to find moments of joy.
Yeah,
you know what
all
I mean?
that,
Like
whatever
walking through the woods.
status, or
Right.
yeah,
Right.
basically it's like, and I won't speak for you, but for me, it's like what other people think I'm supposed to be doing or having. That's a lot of like, that is.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm fortunate, you know, especially now, you know, with what I do for work and you know, working with my buddy Sam and stuff like that. I'm super fortunate to be able to kind of exist within a bubble. You know what I mean? Like being around cool, interesting artists. You know that everybody makes money, we all get by, but not getting caught up in the keeping up with the Joneses or expectations. You know what I mean? Also, too, it's easy to fall into that trap of like, well, I feel so unsettled generally that like maybe if I was just fitting more into a box, then I'd be happy. Then I'd be one of the happy people.
Because we look at like yeah, and that's the whole kind of myth of white privilege, right? For me, not that it's a myth, it exists, but I use judgmental thoughts and racism or bias against white guys. Like I look at them and I'm like, oh yeah, he's got it perfect in that if he's got a car that's like 1 degree nicer than mine, and I'm talking about like a Prius with tints or anything higher, or Prius with like where all 4 hubcaps match, or anything better. It's like, right? Because we only like it's like we're comparison machines or something, right?
Without doubt. Yeah, we're always looking, comparing, contrasting. I just love the contrast. Speaking of comparing, contrasting, the contrast between
whose quote is that? Comparison is the thief of joy.
They give it to Teddy Roosevelt, but it's probably ages old, you know.
Well, just the comparison of Ray complaining about that he can no longer spend $500 a day on coke, and then MFG just casually talking about he's been living out of a van for the last 4 months, and like
I know, and then he's gonna drop the welder's mask.
Yeah.
No, we choose.
Well, check this out.
Correction.
This big,
dude. So
big little mural.
This is a
nice,
kind of graphic mural you're doing on 2 kind of doors that when they close they make a huge mural, right?
No, it's just 1 panel, but it's pretty cool because it's the door to the shop.
Oh, nice, man! Congrats, dude. And there's his Olympic rings back there. I see them, dude.
Oh yeah.
So Dima, I know you're on here, but I don't know if you have any comments. We can't see you right now. But just feel free to chime in whenever.
And Dima, do you ever have a challenge with the if I X, then I'll be happy? Like move to the US, get married, move to a zip code. You know what I mean? Do you ever struggle with that kind of what did MHG call it? Like that flawed, deferred happiness kind of plan?
Yeah. I don't know if Dima's available. He's on mute right now, so if he comes on, he comes on. But I can tell you, dude, that's like my entire life. like still to this day, after all of the coaching, after all of the mentorship, et cetera, it's still to this day. I still look at my enemy's card. I know Larry's trying to talk me out of that. Every single day, it's like, one day it'll be better.
Yeah, but wait. Go ahead, MFG.
Didn't you rent a room in a house until you made like fucking $400,000?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, all right. So apparently there's some.
So
that's
some
your
cocaine.
Unpack.
Okay.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. Like literally, you know. Dima, what's up, brother? So to deflect the heat at me, let's put it on you.
You need to shut up and listen. Okay.
Yeah. Ray, repeat the question.
The topic today is the deferred happiness plan. If I lose 100 pounds, then I'll be happy. If I get this job, then I'll be happy. Do you have any experience with that? If I blank, then I'll be happy.
I think he went out again. I think his video's or his internet's a little shoddy out there. I think he's outside.
Right. Well, I'm assuming that moving from Belarus to the US had some expectations baked into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be interested. You see, he has issues, right? That's what I said. Like that's what I'm saying.
We got issues.
Yeah. I do think. I mean, to put a bow on this thing, I do think there's some nuance. So I absolutely love the book Relentless and Winning from Tim Grover. Honestly, those books, they're the first books outside of Please Understand Me Too that I felt like were able, like when I was reading the words, I was like, oh, this book was made for me.
Yeah.
You know, like almost like word for word. And that book Relentless talked about sort of the curse of Michael Jordan, the curse of these extreme competitors. which is acknowledging and confronting the fact that you are working years for 27 minutes in the spotlight. To then,
and it'll ruin your family, and it'll ruin your relationships, and it is like you're accessing the Darth Vader side of you to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look at Tom Brady, your boyfriend,
the greatest. Dude, and the blood rushes out of my head.
Yeah. No. You can imagine the conversation that he had to have with his former wife, which was like, "Hey, Tom, you told me 4 years in a row that this was the last year. You retired, and now we're having a conversation again. So I'm just guessing.
Let me guess. This is really, really, really the last year this time, isn't it?"
And then he says it, then goes back, and then you imagine the next conversation is like, "Hey, Tom, you told me, and I gave you an ultimatum." And Tom says, "Football."
Like it's right. And so like, and I don't know if I want to celebrate that in US, because obviously it got you out of the hood. It got you it created an amazing man that you are, a fucking amazing man. And I think we can all agree on that. But like, I don't know if I would want that for me.
No. Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's a badge of honor. I'm illustrating that Tom Brady situation, because think about that, right? Like, what is
sure,
one
you get to be the GOAT, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you already are. Like, you think about that. Like, he already is. And there's arguably,
why can't he just open up a coffee shop in Brooklyn now?
Yeah, well, there's arguably marginal, minimal, if any, upside to the transaction anymore. Like, you can't become more of the GOAT. He's already there. In fact, I would argue that he's adding a bit of risk to the legacy, just like Jordan did when he came back to the NBA, to which nobody ever talks about. But it's like, that's the curse, like that's the disease.
Yeah.
What's a Bukowski quote? "Find what you love and let it kill you."
Oh, yeah, that's a good one, man.
Right, but at the same time, it's like,
that's the deal.
I think we have to continuously be willing to shed behaviors that no longer serve us. Yeah. So, like for you, Wes, where being thrifty served you, and being frugal and conservative certainly served you in certain ways. Find where the intersection is, where now find out where abundance. It's hindering you. Where's a pain point now?
Yeah.
Because now it's costing you more than it's serving you, I would imagine.
Yeah. No, you're spot on.
But at the same way, it's like, if you go through life, you know what I mean? It's just like, if you think, oh, well, I need to have money. Well, it's like, then find a way that is going to work to get the money that makes you happy. Because if you just like sacrifice to get money, then you're sacrificing to get something. You're slipping back in. You're not living like congruently.
Man.
And I don't know what that is. It's not easy.
No.
Especially not in the society that we live in. But if you can find a way to be even just a little bit more congruent, well,
like I said,
over day or year over year,
there's a healthy way to do it and an unhealthy way to do it, right? A healthy way to do it is to keep gratitude and like adjust your program to your situation. The unhealthy way to do it is change the goalposts every time you don't get what you want, right?
Yeah.
So like you said, it's not easy. There's no answers. You don't get to be happy. Sorry, happiness is for who?
Yeah, women and children. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So,
like Dennis Leary said years ago, happiness comes in small doses. It's a chocolate chip cookie. It's when you come. That's about it.
Love chocolate chip cookies too.
But it's like happiness to have meaning and purpose, I believe, far supersedes happiness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's actually what we're looking for when we say happiness.
Right, because you just want to matter. You want to have what you do makes a difference to somebody. You want somebody to give a shit. You want to provide value to the world around you. And that's probably not going to come from security and comfort of, $60,000 a year in benefits.
Yeah, and so
but you got to find out what that is for you.
It's way higher. But my closing remark is it's orders of magnitude greater than that amount. But like my my closing comment is, so again, like Arnold had this fucked up childhood where Austria lost the war. I don't know if you guys remember, but Mr. Hitler's from Austria, right? They lost big time. And all the men were like totally embarrassed and like depleted and defeated in that generation after the war. And his dad drank and his dad hit them, and his dad did not express love the way dads are supposed to now. But there's one piece of good about, but this also shaped Arnold, right? And paved the way for his good, his success. But he said the one thing his father said that he always tried to action was his dad's advice: be useful.
That was outstanding.
Be useful. All right, boys.
Love the bow on it. And just as a heads up, MFG is going to drive his van down and kick your ass if you keep on cutting him off during this podcast. So I know he's thinking that.
Right. He's going to have to catch up with my bikes.
I'm happy to see you're on a bike this whole time because you were pretty jazzed up talking. I'm like, oh man, Ray's back on the glove.
Ray's doping again.
I'll be waiting for a text later.
Yeah. Love you guys. Have a great weekend.
Hey man, can you